In my teens and early 20s, I strayed from the ocean. I was very interested in all things mechanical, became intensely involved in cars and motorcycles. Of course, I always thought Grandpa's Indian Chief was really neat. When I was 15, I rode a little 1950 Mustang. When I was 18, a 44 Indian Scout. I raced jalopies, and I raced on the street. Full race Indian Chief engine and a Harley Sportster frame did the job. It was an unbeatable combination back in 1968. But I eventually came to the realization the only future for a street racer was either jail or death. Neither seemed a really good alternative, so I returned to my first great love, the sea. And it wasn't long till I was back out on the water.
This was an aircraft belly tank. It actually worked as a boat, not too badly. Went to deep sea diving school and joined a treasure salvage expedition to the West Indies to be gone 3 months and come back with lots of money. I was gone 11 and came back broke. I doubt if my old landlord was too amused at this old Navy motor launch in the backyard, another abandoned project in the interest of moving on or not getting back in a timely manner. Soon I was back to work in a machine shop and I acquired another abandoned project, 30-foot Chinese junk in the back of a boatyard in Hermosa Beach that I named the High Song. I had no idea it would take 5 years before it would hit the water again. So I built this 15-foot plywood dory in the carport of a motel from plans I got out of a magazine. It was relatively easy to build and went together pretty fast, and in the end it made a pretty darn good boat. Even had a modified Ford to move it around with. Built a sail rig for it using an old parachute. When times got tough, I built a cabin on it. Ended up living on it for 8 months. Then my longtime partner, Richard Cara, and I were given this 18-foot cabin cruiser with a rotten cabin. Well, we soon built a cabin of our own design. This is Rich measuring. We named her the Logos. She was really a great boat. Got a slip in King Harbor, Redondo Beach, and I lived on her for over 4 years. Made 4 voyages to Catalina Island, even around to the backside. This is Little Harbor on the backside, Emerald Cove on the front side. In 1976, I moved the Logos and the junk to San Pedro, where the junk was launched. Went to work for Cabrillo Boat Shop, where I worked for 10 years as a shipwright, welder, and machinist. Wasn't long till the High Song was together and under sail. Did a lot of good sailing with that boat. Headed out for Catalina Island. Had some great times anchoring in the coves over there. I had my own diving and salvage operation there at the boatyard, and I started building this dive boat to be called the Lisadora. In 1980 I took on another abandoned project, a 45-foot ferro-cement schooner with a 101 horsepower Detroit diesel engine. In 86 I sold the unfinished dive boat to pay off my debts and moved the boat north to Channel Islands Harbor, where I worked as a diesel mechanic for the boatyard there for 15 years. I raised my sons, oldest Jacob, my youngest Nicholas. She turned out to be a great sea boat. We named her the Houston Heritage. We eventually got it running and headed out for the Channel Islands. Willows Cove on Santa Cruz Island. The cave at Smuggler's Cove. Coches Prietos. On the right is another good partner, Steve Colby, a good man on an expedition. East Point on Santa Rosa Island. Skunk Point, also on Rosa. It was Steve's and my long-time dream to stand on the point at Skunk Point where the 2 converging currents sweep around the island and meet, making a very mean, confused sea. And we did it. We saw the bones of long-dead ships and set up a wayfarers' camp. We went to San Miguel Island, the furthest out in the northern chain of the Channel Islands. This is Kyler Harbor, best harbor on the island, only when it's calm, which isn't very often. It's an exotic place with freshwater springs, palm trees, shipwrecks. It's a rough place, and sea caves. We went to Richardson's Rock, 5 miles past Miguel on the edge of the continental shelf. The last rock. Next rock is Hawaii. It was here we saw blue whales.
I spent a lot of time on inspirations because I consider them so very important. They determine who we are, what we do, and why we do it. And they'll keep us going through the hard times. In 2001, I injured my back and shoulder in the boatyard, and I could no longer do that kind of work, nor could I do the kind of work necessary to finish the schooner. It was just too big a project. So the boat was sold, and I moved to Wyoming. But I really missed being out on the water. And as I was going into my second winter there, I decided it was time to build another boat. A boat that I had always wanted to build, of my own design. So I began designing the boat that was to become Jani.